Installing a toilet seems pretty straightforward, but like any construction task, the pros have tricks that make the job go faster and easier. In this Building Skills, we turn to master plumber Mike Lombardi for his tips on installing a toilet that won't leak, rock, or rust.
With the toilet on site, the first thing I do is check it for damage. I want to make sure there are no cracks or chips that could cause failure. Okay, so next I'm going to get these bolts in their place, and then I'm going to do a dry fit before we commit to a wax gasket. Okay, now we're going to test fit the bolt. Okay, and I have my pencil marks on the floor that show where the center of the flange is, and I've got that lined up with the holes in the toilet. And that's good. Well, we got a little rock, but we have a good solution, and that is some red rubber packing. And I'm going to get this toilet in the best position with the level, and I'm going to hold it in that position so that the gap is revealed, and I'm going to slide in this rubber packing until I'm satisfied that we're going to get a sturdy install of the bowl. A level bowl will ensure a level tank, and we want to make sure the tank won't look crooked in relationship to the wall behind it. So I'm going to get a bead of caulk on the underside of the toilet that'll help seal it to the floor and reduce the size of the gap between the bowl and the floor. And I'm using clear caulk here. It'll dry translucent in a day or two. So we'll get a good bead here. Next, wax gasket goes on the flange. I like the Hercules brand Johnny ring with a plastic horn that directs the flush water into the center of the flange. Okay, we're ready to set this bowl now. So I'm going to slowly lower it into place, keeping the holes in the bowl lined up with the bolts. And now I can feel the wax touching the bottom of the toilet, and I'm actually going to sit on it with my weight and gently rock it a little twist into place till I feel it hit the floor. And that's very good. You don't want to try to pull the toilet down with the bolts and the nuts. Okay, so we're ready to tighten the bolts next. We're going to put the washer on that holds the putty cap or bolt cap, and now we're going to put the plastic nut on. I like these plastic bolts. They're strong enough to secure the toilet to the floor, but they'll break before you damage the bowl if you should over tighten it. Okay, so that's hand tight. I'm going to go to the other side now, hand tight. So I have both nuts hand tight, and I'm going to finish tightening with a smallish wrench. For me, 6 inches or smaller. The smaller the wrench, the less chance of over tightening these nuts and damaging the bowl. So I'll just engage it. I'm going to get it snug, and then I'm going to stand back and make sure I like it in the space, that it's square or straight. And then I'm going to tap the bowl to see if I can tell how sturdy it is on the floor. That seems good right there. So before I finish snugging the toilet, I'm just going to get back a little bit to get a good view and make sure the toilet is square or straight in the space. Okay, so I've got the packing cut through on the other side, and I'm going to make one more pass on this side of the bowl. Again, I'm using the bottom edge of the bowl as a guide for my knife blade. That should do it. And now this should lift right out. And that's it. Okay, we're ready to set the tank now. We're going to be careful about aligning the two bolts that hold the tank to the bowl, and we'll get them in the hole. And there we are. So I have the nut on the left side of the tank installed, just hand tight, and now I'm going to do this side. Same thing, hand tight. And I'm applying gentle pressure with my other arm in the tank, and I'm keeping the line between the tank and the bowl even, so I don't over tighten one side and risk damaging the china. Okay, that's hand tight, and I'm going to go for the wrench. Okay, so here's the socket wrench that most manufacturers are including with their installation kit now. And I'm just going to put it on the nut, and I'm going to continue to tighten it by hand, and I'm watching the distance between the tank and the bowl in the front. And I'm gonna make sure I don't make it too tight, so when I finish snugging the other side, I won't damage either the tank or the bowl. So that feels pretty good. Now I'm gonna move to the other side. And I'm gonna tighten it until the two pieces meet. And you don't want to over tighten this and risk chipping the china. Just enough to take the rock out of it. That looks good right there. So we're coming down to the end here, but we want to finish off by cutting these bolts and installing the finished cap that hides the bolt and the nut. I've already done the left side, so now I'm going to cut here. And using the top of the nut as the guide for my saw blade, because I want to snug that bolt when I'm done, just to make sure we've got it as tight as we want it. And that actually feels real good right there. We're done. Going to wipe a few crumbs away here, and next we're going to pop on the cap. So the final thing for the bowl is to caulk this joint where the floor and the bowl meet. I want to tool that latex caulk with a damp finger, but I want to be careful not to dilute it too much. We're ready to connect the water now, and I like to use a braided connector with brass nuts on both ends. I also like my connector a little longer so we can make a loop between the tank and the bowl. A little easier to work and connect, and I think it's a neater looking job. So there's our loop. Okay, there we go. Again, we're going to go hand tight and then just a little more with the wrench. You don't want to over tighten anything. If it drools a little bit when you turn the water on, you can always snug it at that point. Okay, that's good on the lower nut. And that should do it. We're ready for the water. Okay. Looking good, it's filling up. We're ready for a test flush. We'll go on to the seat now. It's plenty tight. Get the seat on. And that's how we like to install a toilet.